Hi, everyone. I'm James Protin. I'd like to give a special thank you to our sponsors for the podcast. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We are back at Chico Bocello today in Canonsburg, our home base, and this is episode 49, Nick? 50. Wow, 50. Episode 50. We're nudging up on 1 year, and our guest today is a wonderful person, somebody that I'm very proud to say that I know and call a friend, Katie Unger-Chipps. Katie is the executive director of the Leadership Washington County program. And Katie, welcome to the show and to this amazing place. And I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
It's great to see you and to talk to you. And, you know, I'm a big fan of leadership, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to talk a little bit in the beginning here about you and how you came to be the executive director of Leadership Washington County, because that's not really your background professionally where you came from.
No, actually. So to really start at the beginning, I graduated from Bowling Green State University with an IPCO degree, so which stands for Interpersonal Communications,
Nice.
With a minor in business and marketing. So,
Okay.
Which really means that when you come out, you do some kind of sales job.
Right.
Yeah. So I was hired by Unilever and their company, Lever Brothers.
Okay.
And I moved from Ohio to Bloomington, Illinois.
Now, you're born and raised in Ohio? Is that where you're from?
I am. I'm in the Akron area. Raised in the Akron area. And so moving a couple of states away, I had a home office. Our corporate office was in Chicago.
Okay.
So when you live in Illinois, other than Chicago, it's called Chicagoland. Because it's Chicagoland and everything else.
And everything else,
yeah.
right.
So Bloomington Normal was a really small town. It had about 100,000 people and two main industries there. It was Mitsubishi plant and State Farm.
Okay.
So,
sure.
And then you had all the farmers that were out there. So it was a very interesting experience to move out there as a young woman, you know, starting out in her career. I started out as a salesperson for Lever Brothers. And in about a year-ish later, I was promoted to a category development analyst and moved to St. Louis.
So what was the product service? Explain that to people who might not be familiar with that company.
So Lever Brothers is soap. So I, had whisk and Dove soap and the fabric softeners. So I would go in and actually look at the grocery stores and sell them product and look at their market basket and see if we could move our product up or down.
Right.
They used to call them planograms.
Okay.
Where they would put the products in and you would have, every store would look the same.
Okay.
So it was really interesting because I dealt with everyone from someone who might have had a high school education to people who had master's degrees that were running large grocery stores.
Selling fabric softener to farmers couldn't have been easy.
No, it was a unique experience. Taught me a lot.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun and I had a great first boss who I hope for everyone that when you come out of school,
important, isn't it?
It is. I had a great first boss, and he just was very encouraging and supportive. And
that can make or break a career.
Yes.
I mean, right out of the gate.
Yep. I had a really positive experience with Lever Brothers. And then when I took the job and moved to St. Louis with Lever Brothers as a category development analyst, again, it was really focusing on market baskets, where things were selling, and how to get our product moved up into the distribution areas.
Sure.
I also was an account manager and became a manager at 25 years old.
Nice.
So that was an interesting experience because
that's a pretty accelerated rise through the ranks.
It was
to go from entry level to there at 25. That's impressive.
It was fast.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
Hold on for the ride, right? Do the best you can, learn as quick as you can, and figure it all out. So again, I had a home office. And did that job for about a year and a half, both of those positions. And then I was recruited into the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
So
the
there
evil
was
empire.
the evil empire, the evil empire. So I'm old enough for people that might have remembered Upjohn Pharmaceuticals.
Sure.
They were known for their alligator bags.
Yeah, sure.
So I became an Upjohn salesperson and moved back to Ohio.
Okay.
And actually had, through the course of my pharmaceutical days, really covered most of Ohio at one point or another.
Okay.
So I worked at Upjohn, which then became Pharmacia and Upjohn, which then became Pharmacia, which then became Pfizer.
Okay.
So I went through 7 mergers and acquisitions.
It's an interesting experience. I've been through several. Not that many, but several.
Yep. So for a 12-year run in pharmaceuticals, I went through 7 of those. So
that's hard to believe.
Yep.
That's got to be some kind of record.
I don't know. No, if you talk to people that were around when I was around doing that, that was probably really commonplace. Mm-hmm. So there
was a lot of movement and upheaval in that industry at that time.
Yes.
There was a lot going on there.
Yes, there was. We were kind of, the pendulum was swinging from really pharmaceuticals and what the impression of pharmaceutical was, and not necessarily unvalidated, to more stricter guidelines and what we could and could not do. And it really went from one swing to the other.
Sure.
So, but during my stay through the pharmaceutical days, I covered a lot of different areas. I spent a lot of time though.
And were you doing direct selling then to like pharmacies and things like that, or dot physicians? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so I was selling directly to physicians.
Okay.
So when we say selling, we're more providing information about what it is that our benefits that our drugs can have for their patients and for disease states. Sure. And I spent a lot of time when I worked for Pfizer, about 6 years in the cardiovascular industry.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a lot of time in the neuro and a lot of time in OBGYN.
Okay.
So those were kind of the big areas that I spent time in. But, I was calling on the Cleveland Clinic was my home away from home.
Okay.
University Hospital, Metro Hospital, the Akron hospitals. And it was kind of a big deal. I mean, you're calling on the cardiologists that are making the decisions for
That's exactly
BHN.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So you get like 30 seconds the first time you meet them. Right. And either they like you or they don't. And that's it. You're
that's
either
the
in or
literal
out.
definition of that terrifying elevator speech that you have to
That's
give
exactly
people,
it.
because that's really all the time you have.
Yep.
And professionals at that level, particularly when we're talking about those types of hospitals, those are among the best hospitals in the country. So you don't get the doctors that are there. You're not going to get a lot of time to impress.
No, you don't. You got to know your stuff.
And that had to help you as you transition even out of that into different roles. Even in your personal life, being a mom, dealing with kids.
Yep.
Right? To get your point across quickly. Because those kids probably have as much attention span as those high-end cardiologists.
Oh yeah, yes. You said that, not me.
You got to get that point across for different reasons.
Yes.
For different reasons. But so you spent a dozen years or so. And now, how did you get from Ohio in the pharmaceutical industry to southwestern Pennsylvania?
So I actually met my husband, and I transferred to Pittsburgh. My first experience here in Pennsylvania was covering downtown Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
So, which was really, I'm very thankful for that opportunity because, I greatly appreciate the challenges, getting around the city and understanding that. And I, had spent a lot of time in the Midwest, so everything's, predominantly flatter. And so coming here, offered a new experiences and, really working, a big city. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed my experience. I learned a lot about the city, the great areas, the great restaurants, all those things that Pittsburgh has to offer.
It's come a long way. It's come a long way. The funny thing about Pittsburgh, you mentioned big city, right? I remember because I've worked in cities all across the country and was born and raised here in southwestern Pennsylvania. The only city I get lost in is Pittsburgh. But I went to Columbus, opened an office there for my previous firm, and met with the mayor. And he told me how excited he was to have a big city firm in Columbus.
Yep.
And I said, you realize Columbus is 3 times the population of Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
like literally 3 times. But the perception of big city in this country is sports teams,
Right.
things like that, right?
Right.
You have the Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins, and all those things. Wow, you must be a big city.
Come on. I'm like, you come through the Fort Pitt Tunnel and you come through that tunnel and it's,
Yeah, it's pretty
here's
cool.
our downtown, right?
It's pretty cool. It's one of the coolest vistas when you come, boom.
It is. It's one of the
pretty
coolest
awesome.
things. So,
So you made it from the city out here to the, I don't even want to say suburbs. We're kind of in the hinterlands out here in the country.
well, yes and no. I mean, it's really, I've lived here now 15 years.
Okay.
And I feel like the progression coming down that, 79 corridor
Right.
is really grown up.
Largely
even
with South Point.
Yes.
That's really helped that connectivity. That basically the airport corridor. When you're coming from the city out the Parkway and from here up 79, and now the new connector. So I mean, it really has kind of truncated that distance. It's coming together.
Yep. But interesting enough, so I ended up deciding to, we decided to have children.
Okay.
So
And how many children do you have?
I have 2 children, a boy and a girl, Will and Lillian.
Okay.
And so I decided to stay home. They're only 2 years apart. So I decided to stay home initially.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that I was a person that needed to have a work-life balance, work-family balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like I was a better mom when I would have that kind of balance. So I had thought about to go back
That's
and
interesting.
finish my master's degree. And then when I was looking at that, I came across RMU and ended up talking to one of their leaders within the university. And he mentioned something about Leadership Washington County. And I said, well, what is this? And he said, well, it's a program. At that time, the RMU was involved a little bit with leadership and explained the program and what it was. I thought, this is kind of right up my alley because I had been guest trainers for the various pharmaceutical companies that I had worked for and, kind of done some of that and, was really interested in it. Even as a kid, I was involved in student council and student government and all those things.
Right.
So, okay, I'm going to try this out. I'm like, I'm excited. I'm going to go. I will tell you, for me, it was the highlight of the month. The program at that time was from September through May.
Mm-hmm.
And once a month we would get together and I would go to different parts in Washington County and learn about what was happening there. And Stephanie Masters was the facilitator for Strength Finders, so Clifton Strength Finders.
Sure.
And I thought, this is a good program. Like, this has got good bones.
Yeah.
My, sort of business side of me thought, I think we could think about how to ramp this up a little bit, right? Because, we're always big on return on investment and, thinking about the people that were coming to this program and what they're getting out of it and how we might improve this.
Right.
So I really enjoyed my experience. I must have made an impression on the board at that time, and the board president was Jeff Fondelier. And he asked me, would I consider interviewing for the executive director position? And I said, sure. I'm like, you know what? Yes, I will. So I had a conversation with Jeff and interviewed with him, and the board made a decision to hire me.
I was on the board at that time.
Oh, that's right. That's
I
right.
remember that.
Yes,
I
that's
remember
right.
that.
Yes.
And I remember the pitch that Jeff made to us about you.
Do I want to know this?
No, all good. In fact, he made it so that anybody that would have voted to not do it would have really appeared foolish. So, but no.
Well, thank you, Jeff.
And Jeff's a great guy. A tremendous amount of respect for him because you're right. At that time in the program, it was a shoestring budget, and it was very difficult. I came into it. I was through Sarah Schumacher and a few people from Mon Valley Hospital, and we talked about originally about sponsoring somebody in the class, and then it kind of went to, hey, we have a spot on the board, would you be interested? And I was president of the Mon Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce at the time, and so that's when I was like, yeah, no problem. Oh, I'd love to. right? Not thinking that, okay, wait a minute, you're already on 5, 6 boards. This is another one. And, it became it was great, but it became overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that instinct to serve that we all have to a certain extent, but it was very strong with me because that's who my parents were. It's how I grew up, especially in Washington County.
Mm-hmm.
It's very near and dear to my heart. So, but it became frustrating because of those, I don't want to say financial difficulties, but it's hard to run an organization like that as a board, as volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a seriously glaring missing piece was that role.
Well, I think that was when I had a conversation with Jeff. He was like, how do you see the organization and where do you see it going? And that was one of the things I said, I asked a lot of questions like, well, how is it structured and how are the classes run? And to your point, how are we doing this?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I said, well, in my opinion, here's what you need to do. Here's what I would do if I was an executive director. So, and it was a lot of hard work. So, it's like, are you ready? I said, I'm ready. Let's go.
It was a heavy lift. That was a heavy lift. And you jumped into it. And we ran into each other. And it's funny how, when I left the board and the reason I left, not because for any reason other than I wasn't doing it justice. My day job was pulling me in a bunch of different directions. I was traveling, family commitments. And I literally stepped away from all the nonprofits that I was on, right? So I'm gradually getting back into that now that I'm older and my career I can see the end of it over there. So it's sitting in that chair right over there. So I'm able to do a little bit more of that. But at that time, again, as you said, we were trying to literally run an organization at the board level as volunteers, and that's not the way you do things. So when you came in, when I look at the board now, when I look at the makeup of your board and what you've done and how far you've come a long way in a few years.
Well, we have. And it's really, my approach to leadership is more of a team-based approach. Even from the very beginning, I had talked to Jeff and I said, we need to structure this not as a nonprofit, but as a for-profit company.
Right.
We need to bring on all the players, all the departments that you would have in a normal company. And I said, I realize that we're going to be asking these people to volunteer, but if we bring on people who are passionate about what it is that we're doing, that believe in our cause, that have the skill sets in these different areas, it's probably not as hard of an ask as you think it is.
Right.
And then collectively as a group, we have, move forward and sort of, the executive director position sort of being the ringleader of bringing everybody in.
Right.
And sort of coordinating that effort together. And so, the first couple of years was hard. The first thing we did within the first year or two that I was there was redo a website. We really didn't have a website.
Right.
The initial website that we had were sort of magical hands with a purple poof coming out. So at that time, purple poof. It was, yes. Yeah. So
not a good book.
I was thinking in bubble letters. I'm like, I'm not really thinking that portrays professionalism, with the people that we were going after.
Not a good look for the organization, the mission of the organization.
Right.
It didn't line up.
It didn't line up. It didn't line up. So I worked with Stacey Ivel, who was starting out in her own business, and she and I worked together to put together our website and our new logo and our new colors,
which are very cool. It's just spot on. Just spot on.
Well, we've had this website for 10 years now, and we're looking to actually upgrade again, you know what I mean, and kind of refresh. Yeah. So be looking for that in the next, 6 or so months.
Excellent.
You'll be seeing a new website come out. So that was part of the beginning, and then getting information out to the public and really getting our image. And the other piece of it was, working with Stephanie Masters and other people that were in education. And other business leaders, and finding out what do we need to really have in this program? What is the need in Washington County? And what we found was a lot of mid-size, even to larger and certainly smaller companies did not have the resources to be able to train people.
Right.
So the skill set of actually taking somebody who is wants to be a manager or a management-like position and really enhancing the skills that they have and bringing them to the next level.
Right.
And so that became a big focal part of our program was the Clifton Strength Finders initially, which we still use today.
Okay.
We've added other pieces into our program. So now, as it has evolved, and we've had more and more board members come off and or come onto the board and really have done a fantastic job. I could never have done this without the team of board members that have helped me do this. But we now our vision is, leading self, leading others, leading the community. And so every one of our sessions has a focus of those three.
Okay.
So, and we've upped the game even more so in working with Nonprofit Sidekick, and which is now a component of Stephanie Masters and Wendy Bertner, who between the two of them have a wonderful balance of real life for-profit management skills with using strengths, personal index, DISC, and other tools that we work through the entire year. But then the nonprofit side. So you're a perfect example of someone that has passion and wants to be involved, gets on the boards. That's one of the things that we talk about at our group is that we have leaders that are in our class. And oftentimes you're asked to sit on a board or will you participate? And so throughout our entire program, Wendy and Stephanie talk about the for-profit side if we're talking about change management, how that looks for profit on that side. And oh, by the way, here's what this looks like on a nonprofit side.
Right.
And things you need to consider and how your roles change and differ. So when our cohort graduates, they have a really good understanding of not only who they are as a leader, but they also understand what is expected of them when they get on a nonprofit board, who they are as a leader in a nonprofit board setting, and how that's different than being in a for-profit.
Right.
So we feel like we're educating people coming out.
I think you are. I think you're doing a tremendous job. And, I've always, again, even though I stepped away, I've always been a proponent of the organization and the mission. And I think you and I we're sitting here is the perfect example of networking, right? Yeah. Because a lot of networking happens by chance. You can plan for different things. You can go to events, but I was literally sitting here with Ashley Reed and Diane Altland from our team, and we were having a meeting, and I had been thinking, I tried last year, but I was too late. So I was thinking, you know what, it's been in my head. And then all of a sudden, boom, there you were at the next table. Yeah. And I said, do you have any more space? You had one left. And here she is, and Ashley she's that young professional who checks every box, right? And I see that. I've always been a very good judge of character and talent, right? But what I don't have that this amazing organization brings is I don't have the time to. I mentor her on a daily basis, Diane Altland, who mentors her on the professional side of things, right? But we don't have the time to invest, even though it's just one day a month. That's critical. And just in the few months that she's been in this cohort, you could see,
the wheels are turning.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And by the way, I don't know if she told you this, but she's University of Akron grad.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
yes.
So you have something in common.
There we go.
So, but anyway, that importance of having a structured program like this, when you identify that person, and a lot of people are like that. They see an up and coming young talent, right? This knucklehead here, like, when you look at a young man like that who at 20 years old can do all of this, right? Then okay, I can see that. So how can I elevate Nick? How can I prop him up and help him, down his path? Because it's not my path. I know nothing about this. The only thing I know about I'm not allowed to touch any of this stuff, right? Because all I know is how to turn it on and break it. That's the only two things I know about it.
Right.
But so how can I then guide him, just like Ashley? I'm not an engineer by education. I'm an engineer by trade. Okay, it's two different things. Technically, I can't even call myself an engineer. I'm a project manager. But so at the end of the day, I know what this young woman can do and what she's capable of. So, but in a program like yours, like Leadership Washington County, helps me as an employer, okay, as a senior management person, elevate her along the path, right? So I think from that aspect of it, and the reason I went through all of that is that you have a new program coming out, your masterclass program. And I wanted to get into that because that's launching soon, right?
It is. So just so for your audience, just to kind of distinguish what our different programs are, because we have grown since you were on the board as far as our one program. So the program you and I have been talking about is our signature program. So it's a LWC signature program, and it's a 9-month program, or 10 months actually technically now. We meet once, usually the third Tuesday of the month, all day, and we focus on the areas that we talked about, as well as a subject within business, so education or politics or health and human services. Right. So that is our signature program, and that program, like Ashley, is for people that are managers, current managers, or management-like positions. And so we're really focusing on that skill level so that we can have common conversations with those folks. And about 2 years ago, we launched our masterclass program. So under the masterclass umbrella, we actually have 3 different programs. We have Elevate, Emerge, and Empower. So Elevate is and these programs are welcome for anybody in our community and our alumni. So Elevate is more for inspiring keynote speakers, things that might be happening in the business world that are confounding. So it's sort of a topic that can be all over the place.
Sure, that's a broad brush.
Yeah, it's a broad brush. Right. Empower is focused on women in business. So a lot of those are women topics, are women focused on what reality is for them. And each one of these are a lunch and learn session. So it's a 60-minute opportunity for you to be able to come in, get a specific skill set, and be able to walk out the door. And oh, by the way, network with some great ladies, that are there, and men too. We have quite a few men who come to these programs too. And then finally, this year, our new program, we're the Emerge program. So the Emerge is really for that younger professional or that person who is a leader and is self-leader and is wanting to be a leader of others. So this is the first step. So we recognize that in our area, we really don't have sort of a younger person program for leadership and development. So this is our first attempt in kind of offering some of these skill sets for this younger audience. Right. And the Emerge program is going to be led by Stephanie Masters and Peter Schramm. Peter is the founder of Latitude. And this is a 2-piece program. So you're gonna figure out who you are, what you want, and where do you want to go. So it's 3 sessions.
It's a tall order.
It's a tall order.
That's a tall order because there's a lot of people spend a lot of their lifetime trying to figure those 3 things out.
You're right. And we feel that, it's really important to start figuring that out at a younger age, because we all know that, people that are in their 20s, professionals that are in their 20s and 30s, they're probably going to have 2 to 3, sometimes 4 different careers. Yeah. And so how it's
easy to lose yourself in that process.
Yes.
You lose sight of who you are, and all of that has to start with who the individual is. I would see that program really impacting different people in different ways.
Yes.
It's an opportunity to really do some cool stuff. Because everybody's gonna see it differently, and everybody's gonna pull something different out of that.
Well, our hope is that it's an opportunity for both the individual and for the companies that they're working for. Right. So we all know if we work for big corporations,
it's a definite benefit there. It doesn't. I don't see how regardless of the size of your company, there's a definite benefit here. For if you have identified some younger staff that you want to invest in, this is a great investment.
I think it's a great opportunity for people that are for the HR departments or, like you said, for managers as they see people that are coming up that they want to give them that first step into really figuring out what they want to do. And it puts onus on the individual themselves.
Right.
So, it's really an opportunity where, you have Jim come into your office and say, here, Jamie, I'm going to give this to you. And here's where I think I can go in this company. Here's where I see my career going. I'm here. And this is what I've thought about and how I can do these certain things. And these are opportunities that I think will help me. I'm giving this to you because this is what I want to do in our company, right? So it's an opportunity for companies to send their people to get them focused. This session will be done in South Point at the CNX building, where we are currently where our new home is, I guess, the HQ Center. So we will be doing these sessions there. They will be at the end of the day from 3:30 to 5:30. When we feel that most people can take advantage
Makes it
of the
much more accessible. Sure.
Particularly for, again, people that are not in management positions yet. And they're meeting for 2-hour sessions, and that will start in April, May, and June, the first Thursday of the month. Okay. So we actually, to entice people to, check us out, you certainly can go to our website at palwc.com. Or certainly can reach out to me, but we're running an early bird special. So the cost is $350 for all 3 sessions. So it's a total cost. Till the end of February. After that, it goes up $100. So it'll be $450. But again, we have great sponsors, that are helping to sponsor this program. One of them being CNX Foundation.
Yeah, you can mention your sponsors. They deserve some kudos. Again, any company that reaches out and supports nonprofits, and especially with a mission such as this, is you give them a shout out.
Well, so for this particular program, our new launch, again, CNX Foundation has supported this because they believe in, the champion of leaders, and they certainly have their own programs and working with high school students and beyond. So this was really a kind of a natural fit for them and for us. So we're very fortunate, and I'm really excited about this because, again, in feedback that we've gotten from the community, this is a need that we don't have. So I'm excited to say that we have a program that goes for almost a year long, or school year. We have programs that are lunch and learns that you can come in 60 minutes and walk away with something. And then we're having mini programs such as the Emerge that we're launching that is a little more in depth, but isn't too long and too overtaxing, but dips your toe in, if you will, to really understanding where you want to be as a leader.
And it's a very important career builder, and again, helping to illuminate the young person's career path and really reinforce where they're going. But let's be very clear on something. Now, you are not. Leadership Washington County is not technically affiliated with Washington County. Is that correct?
We are independent.
Right. So you're not funded by Washington County in any way. You're a nonprofit in every sense of the word. So you have to bring in those dollars. Right?
Yes.
So donations, sponsorships, things of that nature, and then of course, fees for the cohorts, the classes, the individual students. So that is that's not an easy lift around here. We don't have a large population. We are, you look at Washington County, for example, we're 66 or 7 municipalities, a little over 200,000 people. Okay, that's not a large population to draw from, and we have more than one. You're not the only nonprofit in town. Right. So if I want to support, if I'm a giving person, right, and I have, Katie's my friend and I love this program, and Carol D'Angelo, who's on your board, one of my favorite humans on the face of the earth. Carol says, Jamie, I need your help. I mean, I can't say no to Carol. I can't say no to Katie. But then I have Sarah Schumacher, who's, with the Washington Health System Foundation. So I can't say no to Sarah. So how can the average person that's just, wants to be community oriented, wants to help out, has a few bucks, how can they get involved with this program? They can't afford maybe to send, they don't own a business, or they're not someplace where they can send a student. How can they support the program?
Well, that's a great question. And there's actually a couple ways. The best way that I think that is really easy for the general public to participate and support what it is that we're doing for the community is through WCCF Gives Day, or the Washington County Foundation Gives Day. It happens every September. And if you really want the biggest bang for your buck, that's it. If you donate that day to us or any other nonprofit who participates in that, there's a bonus pool that goes along with it. So it adds to that dollar. So your dollar goes further.
Even if you're just donating $10 or $20.
I think the minimum bid or the minimum donation is $20 or $25. But yes, if we had 100 people donate $25, it all counts.
It all helps. And a lot of people, they don't realize it, and they need to be thinking of reaching out to their employer, because a lot of employers in a situation like that will they have a matching fund, right?
Yes, they do.
That 25 becomes 50, right? And then again, 10 people give 25, it'd be 50. It adds up pretty quickly.
Well, I think too, I love data. And the fact of, why I can say things. And those are things that we're working on too, to be able to provide more data. But what I can tell you is that since people have been in our class, there's promotions that have taken place. People have moved up the corporate ladder.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some people that, like Sarah Schumacher, who actually I was in the class with her. So, I've sat on both sides, so it's kind of cool. Sarah has done a bang-up job and, has really moved up the corporate ladder and is doing a wonderful job at WHS.
Well, and Sarah has had, coming out of that program, I mean, she's a pretty special human being to do the things that she's done. But when you look at what she did at Mon Valley Hospital, now Penn Highlands, and now in Washington Hospital, here's a young person who came out of this program and has had a significant positive impact in Washington County, for several years now.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we are trying to work on is our alumni, and really giving props to those that are moving up and really making a difference in our community. Right. There are almost 400 alumni in this area.
That's amazing.
And so, and unfortunately, we didn't do a great job of making those connections and keeping that. And we're working on that and trying to bring that community back. But we do have companies who send their employees every year, which is it's about a 90% return rate. For us, which is a great testament to they like what they're seeing, and the people going through
our next year's lined up. We're ready to go.
They feel that we're being impactful and they're getting return on investment for it. So, we're very proud of the program that we provide, and particularly with the signature program, there is nowhere where you can get the training for the Strength Finders piece of it, and all the other pieces, all the speaker panels that we do, anywhere for the value that we're for our tuition for a program like this. So,
and having access to somebody like Stephanie Masters, I know Stephanie well, and she's an impressive person who really you want young people to be around her and to learn from her. She's from a mentorship standpoint, there's nobody better. There's literally nobody better. You guys are providing, you guys being LWC, are providing young people, different walks of life, different demographics, but you're providing access to something really special.
Well, we hope so. That's our goal.
You're succeeding. I mean, you really are.
Our mission and vision for the organization is to make a positive impact on the community, that we want to create leaders. And that's what we're trying to do, because we feel
number one job of a leader, right, is to create more leaders.
That's it.
And you're doing that. And you have been such a tremendous. I can't think of anybody better to represent the organization in the community than you. You're and I said this to you earlier before we started the film, that you're very you're very accessible. Okay, and people aren't afraid to just walk up to you and say hello, even if they don't know you, right? Yeah. Because you give off that vibe. You're very welcoming. And is that something you work on, or is that just you? Is that just Katie?
I like people. I like people. I like learning about their stories. I am interested in what they're doing. I am energized by people.
Right.
So, legitimately, if I'm in a coffee shop, come up and say hello. I love making connections, and I love making connections with people that I know in the community and with people in my class. Mm-hmm. And, to me, I find that incredibly exciting. Yeah. It's getting like a piece of candy when you're a kid, right? It's like, oh, this is a great, you're doing this. Oh, you need to meet this person. I'm going to put you guys together. And then you guys can decide if you want to, what it is that you want to do.
Right.
But I think that's one of the, sometimes we talk about superpowers, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been told that my superpower is making connections with people. And, my individualism, my maximizer, these are all strengths, mm-hmm. that I've been identified as. But really, at the end of the day, Jamie, it just comes down to communication.
Absolutely.
And you know what I mean? Are you able to chit-chat with people? Are you authentic? Mm-hmm. Do you put it on the table and like, here it is? I can do great things and I can make mistakes too, Right. So
absolutely.
It's how do you...
you acknowledge your strengths, but you also have to acknowledge your weaknesses too. There are things that as professionals, as human beings, we all can do better. Yeah. Right? None of us is perfect. None of us, we don't know everything. We stumble, we fall, okay, wait a minute. Oh, okay, then get up and you don't do it again, right?
Right.
But so what are you working on personally right now that is going to make you better at what you do?
So I feel like I'm constantly trying to learn from other people. I am trying to see what's next. How is somebody else doing it? Are they successful? Where the pitfalls have they found? And continually to analyze, from a program standpoint.
Right.
Where can we do things better? What can we be adding to the program? What's changing? So I think that I'm never a person who's going to sit still. For me personally, it's interesting you should ask that question, because I think that, at different times in your life, you kind of hit these crossroads.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, all right, I got this. Where do I need to go next? And to be honest with you right now, I'm sort of working on that. Like, where do I want to go next? What is my next going to look like?
Right.
I can tell you one thing, it will be something that will be impactful, that will affect the community in a positive way.
That statement in itself tells me that you'll be successful, right? Because that's a declaration right there. Right? You can't back down from that now. No. You put it out there. All 4 of our viewers heard it, and they're going to hold you to that, right?
Right.
Because it's not like, well, I'd like to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Right. So that's being a leader.
Well, I think anything worth doing is worth putting 100% in. And, I'm always like, hey guys, go big or go home.
Right.
I'm like, so you don't make your top dream. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are we getting there? Right. Yeah. Right. Do we make a few stumbles along the way? Yes. Do we make a few mistakes? Yes. All right. How do we handle that? To me, the biggest thing as a leader is everyone's going to have a stumble or a mistake. It's not that you have that. It's how you handle that.
Right.
It's what you do after that. That makes a difference.
I think, especially with younger people, the hardest thing is for them to face and recover from adversity, right? Because they're not used to that, right? When they come out of school, listen, I can't even tell you how many times I've face planted along my journey. I have the scuffed up knees and elbows to prove it. So is there anything specific that LWC does in relationship to that piece of adversity? When you encounter adversity, how do we, I don't want to say teach, because you can't really teach somebody to how to deal with adversity, right? Because everybody has that different kind of perspective inside them. But how do you kind of mentor or show young people that, you're gonna get punched in the gut every once in a while, but you can't stop. You've got to keep going.
So one of the posters that we put up this year was, and I hope I get this quote correct, it's get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So in our program, the goal is to make you kind of uncomfortable.
Right.
We're going to throw things at you that may not sit exactly well, maybe you haven't been exposed to.
Right. You have to do that.
And it's more to take people out of their comfort zone. to make them think about it.
Right.
We're not in the business to necessarily change minds. We're in the business to inform, to teach and inform.
Right.
The decisions you make beyond that are your own. But we're hopeful to bring that information to you so that you can make an informed decision as a leader. So, that is always our goal.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I think that's where most emerging leaders, that word emerging, that's where most emerging leaders stumble. And they get frustrated and, I can't do this. I'm going to try this over here, because you might have tunnel vision and you're focused, you're laser focused. Then you wipe out and you take that gut punch and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden that shiny thing over here catches your eye and you get distracted from that mission, and you go over here, and then, the same thing happens and you go over here, and next thing you know, you're lost. You're in the middle of nowhere and you don't know how to get back to that original path.
There is a quote that I have lived a lot of my life by that was shared to me. The poster was given to me by my dad when I was going off to college. I'm the oldest of three.
Okay.
So the image is of a gentleman who is running, and all you see is from him from behind, and this very long road and this very tall hill that comes up. And the quote says, "The race is not always won to the swift, but to those who keep on running." Exactly. And so
that's awesome.
I have had that poster since then.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, it still hangs up in my home office to this day, and
that's nice.
And
it's awesome.
And it's a reminder.
Sure.
And to your point about people as they're coming along on their journey, have expectations that things are going to go wrong.
You have to face adversity.
That's it.
You have to face it. My dad told me a story. Talking about dads and stories. Dads are interesting. So he said to me one day, I was going through a particularly tough time, and he said, "You need to be a buffalo." And I said, "What?" I'm like, "What does that mean, Buddha?"
Yeah.
And he says, and how he came up with this, I don't know, because my dad's a city boy. He wouldn't have been able to pick a buffalo and a cattle out of a lineup, right? So he said, "There's a difference between being a buffalo and being a cattle." And I said, "Okay, where are you going with this?" And he said, "Both a buffalo and a cow can sense when a storm is coming. Okay? The difference is the cow will run away from the storm. And if you've ever seen a cow run, they're not very fast, and the storm ultimately will catch up to them and swallow them up. Whereas a buffalo senses the storm and turns and runs right into it, because they sense that going into the storm, you get through it faster. Confronting it and dealing with it, you get through it faster. Right? Yeah. So he said, be a buffalo. So and the funny thing was, I was probably in my late 20s when he told me that. I'm 63 now. I probably didn't understand what he meant until about 5 years ago. But when you think about it, if the storm's coming, it's coming regardless of what you do. You can't run away from it. You can't hide from it. So why not face it and get it over with as fast as possible and get through to the other side?
Yep.
Right? So be a buffalo.
Be a buffalo.
I teach that in the class. That could be a class.
Be a buffalo.
Be a buffalo.
I like that.
There you go. So but I think that's, again, I can't say enough good things about the program. Now, are there any other organizations in the county that you guys work closely with? Washington County Chamber, for example, or anybody of that ilk that you would consider to be a partner or a sister organization?
So we don't have any direct partners or sister organizations that you're referring to, but we work with a whole range of companies within Washington County, over across all industries, as well as nonprofits. Okay. So one of the things that we have is our Resource Connection Center. Mm-hmm. So this is an opportunity for nonprofits to be able to make a bid, if you will, or for a board member. And our cohorts are put into the system too. And so it's a little bit like Match.com. I know that's kind of dating myself, but it's an opportunity where are able to, both the organization and the individual is able to put in their skill sets and their personality and, what they're passionate about. And then there's an algorithm that puts them together and they can have a conversation and then they can take it offline and, take it from there. Sure. So
that's very cool.
Yes. So in that way, we work with a lot of organizations. We certainly have supported WCCF, or they have supported us, I should say, their foundation.
We're really blessed. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're really blessed in Washington County with some tremendous organizations like this. I mean, we really are. For what's largely a rural county, in southwestern Pennsylvania, we're truly blessed.
Well, I think that, I'm going to put this little teaser out to you. There's more to come. There's more to come with leadership and leadership programs in Western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So sometime there's been some changes, and I think it's going to be for the positive. And
Excellent.
I think you're going to see changes. So we might have to have another conversation down the road.
We absolutely will, because that's what we're about here. I mean, when you think about the platform of podcasting, right? I mean, it's about community. And that's what really started us, because I would see a lot of the big podcasts, right? Joe Rogan or Rich Roll, all these people are doing these top national podcasts. And the one thing that they were always putting out, this person's doing this unique thing, and look, this unique person is doing this thing, and extraordinary stuff. And I started thinking to myself, we have people right here doing this.
Right.
They're doing the same thing. Maybe they're not famous, or they're not an actor or an actress, or like that, and you're not hearing about it, but the story's just as important. It's just as compelling, right? And so that's kind of what we started about, and it was about community leaders and things like that. And we've really come a long way in a year. We really have. And I'm all about learning. I don't ever want to stop learning, right? So I think in that respect, we should have, and Carol's Carol. Anybody that knows Carol D'Angelo knows what I'm talking about. We've talked about doing that, having recurring visits with, we put this story out there, and let's like Carol's a perfect example. We talked to her for well over an hour, and I don't think we mentioned Leadership Washington County, her being on the board at all, right? Because there were so many other things around that. So you have to keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
So I would say, and I say this to everybody that's gracious enough to come on and be a guest, if there's anybody that that has a story that, hey, I start looking at it this way, your story and how you got here that you defined to us, that's interesting to me. It's intriguing. And what you're doing and how you've grown the LWC program since you've been on board, that's interesting. So if it's interesting to me, I think there's somebody else out there that's going to find it interesting as well. So if there's anyone that feel free to send somebody over to us.
I will think about it.
You know people, and the kind of people the kind of stories that we're looking to tell, right? Because again, everybody's overcome something. All life is a journey of transformation from where you start to who and what you become.
Yep.
Right. So I think I love it. I mean, let's keep the conversation going. I'm excited to find out. I'm intrigued.
I got your attention, huh?
I'm intrigued, yeah, because I'm getting to the end of my professional life, right? My professional career, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also kind of I want to slow it down a little bit, because there's so much I see, good things that are happening that I want to be a part of this. So I don't want to rush. Like I said, I can see it, but I don't want to rush over there, because I want to be a part of this.
We're very fortunate to live in an area of people that what we call doers.
Yeah.
Who have taken it upon themselves to, this is what I'm passionate about. Here's where my skill set is. And if you're interested in joining, come along with me.
There you
go. So we're just one organization. This is what we do. But as to your point, there's so many organizations out there that are doing great things, that are supporting people and community in different ways. I'm always trying to see, like, what what else can we add into this, right? Like what's beneficial and what can we bring into it? Which is sort of, downtowns, right?
Sure.
So one of the things we're doing in our class this year is our community days, and we were finally able to do it for the first time last year. Okay. So Mon Valley Alliance is donating the bus for us, and we take the whole class and we're visiting main streets of the Mon Valley area, downtown Washington and Cannonsburg.
Okay.
And, we have great small town main streets that are coming alive and growing.
Absolutely.
And, unfortunately, some of them, as the whole world, when COVID happened, it kind of put a stop or a stall. Yeah, but they certainly are moving.
But a lot of them survived that.
They did.
Which is really cool.
They did.
I was born and raised in Charleroy. That's my hometown, right? And McCain Avenue in Charleroy they're hanging in there, right? There's gaps everywhere. Nick lives in Monongahela, which is, when you look at Monongahela and Cannonsburg and Washington, they're thriving. But these other communities, like a Charleroy, they're right there.
Oh, they are.
They're right
they
there.
are. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
It's easy to look at Charleroy, Katie, and say, "Oh, look at it. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so depressed. It's not what it used to be," right? Because I'm old enough to remember Charleroy when both Fallowfield and McCain were full. We had like 12 blocks of businesses, right? And it was like constant. I remember that, but I also see how close it is to coming back in some fashion. Not what it was, but look at Cannonsburg. I mean, this is a great, Pike Street's a great little downtown. Things are really happening.
Yes, and that was one of the things that we're trying to let our class know. Right. I mean, and open their eyes to and say, we have a great area. Pittsburgh's great. There's a great opportunities, but there's also great opportunities, to come south. You know what I mean? And take advantage of all these little small town feels and what they're doing. I mean, we have wonderful Main Street managers that are really bringing these areas alive. And so, we expose our class, and it has been just from the first class alone, the comments that we've gotten back from our surveys have said, please keep this class going. Please do this. Awesome. I never knew. I never knew.
Right.
We initially started just with downtown Washington, and like I said, we've expanded, and this year we're adding Cannonsburg. So
that's excellent.
Those are kind of the things that we're passionate about: is economic development. Bringing people back in the community, creating our business leaders and our community leaders, so that it's a full effect.
Sure. I mean, we've got great restaurants, shops. We've got really cool stuff going on, and putting a spotlight on that, or kind of just putting that out there so more people see that, because you don't really see what's going on here in Cannonsburg if you don't come here.
Right.
So, but the access to Pittsburgh from Washington County is tremendous. You can be there in less than an hour. It's literally a suburb of Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh's story has always been our story. We've always been linked to the city of Pittsburgh. But as you said earlier, and you said it really well, that distance is shrinking. Right?
Well, and I think, like I said, there's tremendous opportunities down here, and each area has its own unique offerings. And I think that we need to let more people know about that. I think, the Washington County Chamber is doing a great job in promoting more about what's happening here.
It's a tremendous organization. And Jeff Catula, who we both know very well, Jeff should get a shout out. And I'm going to have Jeff on the show whenever we can both find time to squeeze it in, because he is, talk about a spokesperson for the county. I mean, Jeff is relentless, and he's amazing at it. He really is. And he's one of us, right? He's one of us. Right. And you couldn't ask for a more integrated and ingrained organization to promote a place, a location.
Well, certainly put us on a map for sure.
Absolutely.
So I think that, the chamber is doing great things, and really has taken this area to the next level. And, I think a lot of the smaller chambers have equally stepped up to the plate,
Sure.
And supporting different areas and different niches too. So
I see a lot of the chambers, those smaller regional chambers, working together now as well. I mean, that didn't happen for a long time. It was like, it was you had your little fiefdoms, and everybody was protecting theirs. But now I see a lot more collaboration. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Washington County Chamber, the Westmoreland County Chamber, those at that higher level, encouraging that and driving that.
I absolutely think that that's happening, and it's a good thing.
Sure.
I think that the more connectivity that we have and opportunities where we're supporting each other is only going to bring more positive attention to the area.
Right.
So I don't really see any downside to that.
No, there's not
at all.
I mean, collaboration is a wonderful thing. So along those lines, now, do you know, is there a leadership program like this in Westmoreland County or in any of the other surrounding counties, Beaver, Greene, Wash? We have it in Washington.
Right.
I know Pittsburgh has a leadership program.
So there's Leadership Pittsburgh, there's Leadership Butler, who's run through their chamber.
Okay.
There's Leadership Westmoreland, who's run through their chamber.
Okay.
And then there is, like, Wheeling has a program that they have down there, and Erie has a program.
Okay.
All the programs are, in some respects, they're similar.
Okay.
In the
That's
fact
what I was
that
gonna ask
they're,
you.
yes. So they're all set up to have exposure to the communities that we lived in.
Okay.
And again, focusing on these different areas, whether it be education or health or government or whatever that looks like. And so in that respect, we're all very similar.
Okay.
The differences come in to sort of the skill training piece of it that we offer in Washington County.
Okay.
Pittsburgh obviously has a larger program, so they have two different programs. And so for their higher program, they're more focused on more the landscape of what's happening, in Allegheny County and surrounding areas. I think Butler is, their program is very similar to Pittsburgh. For us, we felt for this area, we needed to have a combination program. Maybe at some point, we'll separate that out, as we grow and become bigger, we'll potentially, separate it out. But for right now, this is what is needed in this area.
Right.
So yes, so there are other programs. But for us, we feel like we're doing what is needed for here.
I agree. I think so. And I love the fact that you keep your class sizes. Each cohort is 20 to 25 people. That's the the ideal number you shoot for?
So we're usually about 25.
Okay.
We'll take up to 30.
Okay.
But we really want to just keep our cohorts smaller. And the reason why is that we feel that there's much more connectiveness. People really get to know each other.
I think it works. It definitely works.
And in the area, yes. I mean, there are people that come out and say, I walked into this opportunity never knowing that I'd walk out knowing my next best friend or, someone that I'm really now very close with. And they're in a completely another industry, and I would never have met them had this not been this opportunity. So
what's that saying? There's no such thing as a stranger, only friends you haven't met yet.
That's it.
Right.
And that is
that's tremendous.
Yes.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I really like about the program is that you guys keep it tight, close knit. And I think that's critical, and it fosters better communication and engagement.
Yes, it's a safe space, and we do say that. It's sort of like the saying they have with Vegas: "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." So we use that, we steal it, and we say, "Listen, what happens in this room? This is a safe space. This is an opportunity for you if you're struggling with something or you want an opinion. Obviously respectfully, but can ask, what would you guys do in this situation, right? And that's another reason why we have people that are on this similar level. So that you can have those conversations and, really get good advice and make connections.
How involved does your board get with the actual cohort, with the students? Is there a direct connection? Do they get hands-on?
Sometimes and sometimes not. The board is definitely a working board, and so all the things that are going on to make the program successful is really a lot contributed to my board members that are on it. That's why this is a team of people that are really pulling together to make this all happen. As far as inside the classroom itself, on occasion we have board members who come and sit in. Sometimes that changes the dynamic a little bit.
Sure.
What you find is that for our board, roughly about 60% of our board comes from the class.
Okay.
So people that are on our board have experienced it. And then we have about 40% that are from outside. So it really creates a really nice mix of people with experience with gone through class and people that may have had other experiences. So, but it's sort of a safer space. So, there's some discussions that we have that I ask the board, if you're going to come, let me know, you know what I mean? And, this is what we're going to talk about. So you may think about that, you know? But like I said, I have a great board.
No, you do. You do. There's no doubt about that. And you should recognize them. And because it's right now, I think, with you and your role and your board, this organization has reached best case scenario right now. Okay. So, and again, nothing against the group that was there when I was there. When you came on board, it was different and it was a different situation.
Completely.
And this needed to happen. And you've taken in your leadership has led the organization in collaboration with the board to where you're at. And you've come a long way. And I am very, very impressed.
Well, thank you. I've put my heart and soul into this organization and along with several other people. And, we've had a lot of community supporters out there that liked what we're doing and gave us a chance.
Sure.
Sometimes, as you say, you're from this area, from this area.
Yeah.
I'm not from this area. So I had to get to know people. And there was a learning curve there. And, I'm very grateful for those who jumped in at the very beginning when we weren't what we are today. And believed in what we were doing. And I said, we'll get there. Here's what I can tell you. This is what I can tell you will happen in the next 3 years. This is what I can tell you what I'm hopeful in the next 3 years beyond that, right? So setting the right expectations and, and kind of delivering on that. I want people who might listen to this to know that leadership is for everyone. Sometimes it's just personal leadership and growing yourself. And sometimes it's learning the skill set to lead others. But either way, it's growth.
Absolutely.
And our things that we offer, our programs that we offer to the community, there's opportunities for everyone to participate. And that's one of our goals. If you just like to come to one of our master classes and do a lunch and learn, you're welcome to do that. If you want to get more engaged and you're a manager and you want to commit yourself to a school year and come meet other people and really dive into your leadership and who you are as a leader, then come be a part of our signature program. If you're an emerging person and thinking about, what is it that I want to do? What do I want to become? How do I want to grow within the company that I'm working with? Then come be a part of our inaugural class, coming up here in April.
Right.
So we are expanding. I want to thank the community for supporting us and the businesses and the people that have supported us. And I'm grateful and hope that they will continue to see our vision and give us feedback. And if there's things that we're missing or if there's things that we can improve on or if there's things in the community that, hey, we really like you to do that, then let us know.
Can always get better.
We can always get better.
That's excellent.
Always get better.
And the website again?
It is palwc.org.
Okay.
You can join us on our Facebook, which is Washington County of PA, or you're happy to join our LinkedIn group. We have a public group, and we also, or with me personally.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate this opportunity. Super excited.
Oh, it's always great to sit and talk with you. I really enjoy spending time with you. Your enthusiasm and your passion for leadership and everything, it's infectious. So thank you for everything that you do.
Well, stay tuned.